Everybody Loves Cookies by Neon Sangetsu, Chapter 9, Apples and Trees, Part 2. I'll deal with the rat. With those words, a mercury black, I knew his cover was blown. Silently swearing a blue streak, he jolted out of the bushes and flung himself backwards, half expecting the window to shatter at any moment. It never did, but that didn't stop him from turning tail. He booked it right out of there. He'd heard footsteps within and had no desire to face the hunters within. Right then, mission failed. Time to bug out and report back to Cinder before one of those monsters found him. The door slammed open some distance behind him. Ah! An unfamiliar voice sighed. He ran off. Ah! Hit it. He'd not catch him now. He turned and crashed headlong into someone's chest. Blazing blue eyes glowed in the dark. Hello, friend. Mercury reacted accordingly to something that terrifying and slammed the spinning boot into the man's neck. An awful crack greeted him as his victim bent with the blow, twisting his head to lessen the impact. Pearly white teeth flashed back at him, and he sensed something amiss about it. That smile, just a little too sharp, a little too wide to be genuine, and reminded him of his own. He leaned forward, bones creaking ominously, and pressed his forehead to his. My family's watching, he informed him primly, so I'm going to show off a little. Mercury blinked. Wait, what? Ping! He didn't so much see the punch as he did feel it. By then his entire body was left to fold around the fist, currently sheathed in his stomach like a steel chair. Breath burst from his lungs in an explosive spray and what little food he had eaten this evening came boiling back up his throat, and he toppled to his knees. Hey, dinner and a show? Someone cackled just out of sight. Not bad. He glimpsed Roman's sneering face a moment before impact. Ah, so that's how it is. No good, traitor. Nothing personal, kid. Survival of the fittest. The young woman stepped up beside the man, her eyes burning with scarlet flames. Mercury balked at the sight of her. Maiden. His mind hissed frantically. Danger, danger. Shit on a stick. He couldn't hope but to face a truly trained maiden alone. They hadn't been able to face Fall years ago, and she'd since vanished to parts unknown. Had she been slain by this one? Yes, no, maybe so. Whoever she was, she looked like she knew how to use that blade of hers. Damn it, she would have been useful right about now. Snider needed her somewhere else tonight, however, and that somewhere wasn't he to hear. Do you need help? She asked. He was going to die here, wasn't he? It'll be fine, Ray. A little laugh twisted the blonde's gentle smile into something cruel. After all, he's weak. Mercury went terribly still. Something snapped in the back of his mind. All his arrogance, all his bluster, all his pride, all of it came crashing down. There it was, that word, that damn word. It slapped him dead in his face, more brutal than any blow. Weak, as if this bastard knew exactly what to say to him. Weak. It burned more than any attack ever could, set his very heart ablaze, and still that big blond bastard just stood there, taunting him. His father had been much the same way. This is a crutch. This make you weak, weak. His legs broken, weak. His semblance stolen, weak. His very soul warped by abuse. Don't underestimate me, old man. A low shuddering breath fled from his lips. I'll have you spitting teeth. No, said man, tilted his head. You're 100 years too young for that. Mercury flew at him and rammed an iron boot into his face. Honestly, children these days. Naruto didn't even grunt as the metal carved harmlessly off of his whiskered visage. I'll kill you. I'll murder you. I'll wreck you. You'll spit teeth. Bah! He caught the fist that followed and broke it like so much kindling, ignoring the pain shriek that followed. Not inventive at all. Back in my day, things were different. Ah! Any retort Mercury might have given was swallowed by the pain he felt. He spun, slammed the boot into Naruto's face. Blue eyes narrowed. Put a little more force into it, would you? I didn't even feel that. Well, do you have any idea just how many people have threatened to kill me? His tormentor sighed, heedless of the metal boot digging into his chin. Quick as a flash, he reached up, grabbing him by the very leg he struck with, dangling him in the air like some prize catch. Assassins, maidens, monsters, over hundreds of years. His hand tightened into a fist, buckling the metal in his grasp. And guess what, boy? I am still here. He spun and slammed Mercury into the street, shattering it like so much glass. They're threats, a scoff. I barely remember them, and I'm still here. The whiskered warrior ripped him free and did it once again. Their bodies have become ash, and I'm still here. Mercury lashed out with his sole remaining leg. And when your very memory is forgotten, it shattered on the blonde's forehead. I will still be here. With a roar, the immortal swung Mercury up over his head, brought him back down, a meteor ramming him into the earth to leave a human-shaped crater behind. The entire street ruptured for miles in every direction. The assassin couldn't even bring himself to cry out this time. All that emerged was a pitiful squeak of sound as he looked up at his tormentor. Having this difference of power thrust in his face galled him. He thought himself strong until he wasn't. Only now did he realize how weak he truly was. Damn it, he all but rasped the word. What the hell are you? A baker, a father, a hero? The blonde dipped a hand into his belt holster and tugged an ominous shape free from it. Take your pick. Bitter tears gathered in Mercury's eyes. Not like this. He didn't want to go out like this. He was meant to die with a bang, not a whimper. This couldn't be his end. It just couldn't. Really? Tears? You're going to cry now? In here I thought you had a pretty good plan. Naruto shook his head slowly. Short, brutish, simple. He held the item in question aloft, watching his eyes widen. Just like you. No doubt you are meant to follow Roman, make sure he completes his tasks, or bearing that report back to your boss if he refuses. Brutal, really, but you made one critical mistake. He cocked the weapon back with an almost lazy grace. You tried to take away what was mine. The gun rose in his hand with an ominous click. You know, I really don't like using these things, he remarked, gazing at the cold steel barrel with quiet disdain. They're so uncivilized, but you can't deny their efficiency. One shot, one kill, one message delivered. For what it's worth, I'm sorry to do this, but Roman's my kid, which technically makes Neo my granddaughter. Smart world, isn't it? His smile turned grim as he raised said pistol. Cinder's knowing enough, but I want to deal with her. You, however, well, I just can't abide any more harm coming to them, and I can't have you running back to your master. The barrel pressed against his skull. Any last words? Mercury spat in his face. Screw you, Naruto sighed. You're shit at dying, you know that? Here at last something broke within the assassin. Wait, I have information. I'm sure you do. An eerie click filled the air. Unfortunately for you, I simply don't care. He squeezed the trigger, and a single round slammed into Mercury's forehead. His head snapped back. Raven couldn't take it anymore. The very moment the body was buried, she grabbed Naruto upstairs. Now, all right. To his credit, the blonde let himself be dragged towards the stairs. See you later, Roman. We'll be in touch. Raven didn't linger to hear whatever Torchwick said. She was too busy hauling him up the steps, and he let her. The absolute bastard. He could have snapped her wrist like a twig, could have kicked her clean outside just as he had nearly done to Mercury. Instead, he let himself be tugged along like some kind of naughty puppy all the way to the door. Didn't even look worried, the cheeky little bugger. No sooner did they reach the bedroom than she spun about and gave him a shove, to which Naruto toppled back onto the bed with a laugh. Easy, he chuckled. You're gonna break the bed at this rate. Omen came up under his chin, lifting his head just so. How many? She all but hissed the words. Naruto blinked. How many what? Don't you play coy? Wind flared, rattled the very room. How many women did you screw while I was gone? His eyes sharpened. I thought it might be that. A fireball leaped to Raven's palm, ready to be flung at the slightest provocation. Rather than panic, Naruto calmly batted the blade away from his throat, reached over, laid his fingers over the blazing sphere, and closed them around it. Denied the oxygen it sought, the fire guttered out harmlessly. Not even ashes remained out of its might. Only then did he deign to meet her gaze. Don't go blowing holes in my house now, he chided as he leaned back. I just fixed the place. When she didn't wave her exhaust in a long-suffering sigh. You're not going to let this go, are you? All right. How many one-night stands are after you ran away, or how many women did I actually care about? The latter, she bit out. Fair enough. His eyes went distant for a moment, excluding Nessie and Saf. 3. He held up a trio of fingers. Of those 3, one died in my arms, another vanished in imagery. The last said she never wanted to see me again, and no, those same azure orbs flashed in a sudden burst of heat. I haven't been in contact with them or anyone else since. I'm not about to go sleeping around again. I'm done with that. Why should I believe your words? She regretted them the moment they left her mouth. You could have more kids running around like Adam. Something bitter burned in his gaze. Because I'm not you, Riven jerked back, eyes burning. One slip, she stabbed a finger at him. One, and you're never going to let me live it down. I was wrong, all right. She flung up her hands, fingers sparking as her emotion slipped her leash. Is that what you wanted to hear? Damn it, Naruto. I was drunk and scared out of my wits. I don't even remember that night with Tai, which is why I forgave you for it. He rocked back on the bed, that self-same smile turning to a friendly scowl before her very eyes. That's the only reason I haven't gone and knocked Tai's block off. Quick as a flash, his smile returned. I like to think I'm better than that. Unlike you, I'm not some silly kid who pitches a bitch fit when their toy is taken away. Her hand rocked into the side of his face. Naruto caught it easily, wrenched her wrist aside, and flung Raven over his shoulder in a single seamless motion. There was no transition from one moment to the next. Her, the mattress cushioned her fall. It did nothing to stop him from climbing atop her and pinning her to the bed. Careful now. His forehead pressed against hers, breath warm on her face. I know you're angry. You have every right to be, but I'm not going to sit around and let you beat up on me. Is that all I am to you? She thrashed in his grasp. A toy? Someone you're just going to throw away? No, never. His expression softened. You taught me the truth about this world. You were. Ah, damn it. He looked away, suddenly cheeks gone rosy. You really want me to say it that badly? Do I have to? Her head bobbed in a nod. You were my first love, he hissed the words through clenched teeth. The first person I felt a real connection with since I came to this world. Hell, you still are. The only reason I was with anyone at all was because of you. When you left, I felt empty, hollow. I thought you weren't coming back. I tried to fill the void you left behind with pleasure and other things. It didn't work. Here at last he looked away. I didn't plan to have kids, never did, but I'll not abandon them. Don't ask me to. Well, there it was. That was precisely what you wanted to hear. Why, then, did it leave her so miserable? I hate you. Her words lacked rancor, and she gave him a watery smile. You make me weak. Love you too. His lips graced hers in a chaste kiss, and this time Raven leaned into it willingly. Love, how long it had been since she'd heard those words. She did love him. He made her feel foolish and weak and soft, yet also fierce, fiery, young in a way she'd almost forgotten. He brought out the best in her, and she in him. They were both flawed, but wasn't love flawed by its very nature? They'd had something good together once, and in her fear she'd nearly gone and ruined it. Her weakness had nearly undone them both. Lovable oaf, he'd cut off his own arm if someone asked him to. She'd spent so long running, hiding. No more. No more, she said as much. Huh? Naruto blinked, leaning away. What are you on about? I already told you I haven't been with anyone in years. I mean no more damn kids. A laugh answered her. I haven't been that busy. Raven surged upright and kissed him again, then pivoted her hips and tried to push him down as he had onto her. Naruto didn't allow it. She loved him for that too. He was a fighter just like her. Even as they fought and scratched and clawed at each other, she found herself laughing. She tore apart his jacket, and his fingers tugged at her pants, dragging them down. Her fingers dragged at his bare back, legs locking around him. If you're really that, then keen on having such a large family, she gasped in his grasp, his hips so slowly moving against his. Glazed eyes met his as she took him with her. Then I'll give you one. Naruto hissed like a scalded cat as a stray sunbeam struck his face. It must have been bad luck or something, because it slipped through a crack the curtains and struck his eyes at just the right angle to wake him instantly. His first instinct was to roll over and go back to sleep. Unfortunately for him, someone had a deep grip on his left arm and prevented him from doing so, which left the sun blazing down into his face. Not to try to ignore it, he really truly did. Ugh, my head. What did I drink last night? He sniffed once, inhaled deeply. Ah, he knew that scent. Shut up, will you? Someone pawed at his chin. I'm trying to sleep. Sure enough, when he turned his head, he found one raven brown wind spooned up against him. She wrinkled her nose beneath his gaze, and realization dawned. Blue eyes flicked upwards, beheld his ruined apartment, and the vast litany of clothing scattered about the four corners of the room. A familiar black lace bra hung from a lamp, and yep, those were his trousers flung over the couch, a couch that looked to be have been snapped in half. As he continued to take stock of his ruined room, a faint bead of sweat ran down his brow. Now he remembered. When he glanced down, he found her blinking back up at him. Sleep well? Hmm. She graced him with a sly smirk. I'm damn sore. His grin grew imperceptibly. That a yes? Stop fishing for compliments. Her hand struck weakly against the scarred plane of his chest as she nuzzled her head into him. Won't do you any good. Wouldn't have to if you weren't so damn prickly. Funny thing about Raven, she might be a bit of a tsundere, but when she latched onto something, she latched hard. You'd need a dust-powered crowbar to have any hope of prying her off. Perhaps that was a bit of her upbringing shining through. Raven was a warrior, born and raised among bandits. When she wanted something, she took it. Woe be to whoever tried to take it back. You know you love it. She tossed her head, flinging the dark curtain of her hair over one shoulder. Naruto saw weakness and pounced. Speaking of love, weren't you the one screaming my name last night? Hey! Raven's pale face flushed to match the color of her eyes. Bastard, you really haven't changed at all, have you? They had, the both of them, but neither wanted to admit it. Raven was calmer now, less prone to making rash decisions, and more keen on attachments. He'd become tethered to this world and those living here, just as he had begun to see eternal youth as less a curse and more a blessing. He wasn't invincible by any means or measure, just hard to kill, and besides, hundredses aged real slow, maidens even slower. Raven didn't look a day over 30, not that he'd say such a thing. She was a bit touchy about that. Depends on your definition of the word. She pressed the kiss to her forehead instead. But you're certainly better, I'd say. She snuggled closer. Flattery will get you everywhere. By all means, praise me more. His eyes drifted down. Well, you've got a nice ass, idiot. She dragged his face down to hers and kissed him roughly. They lay like that for what felt like an eternity, simply luxuriating it in the feel of one another. Cinder's going to attack Beacon, you know. Raven pulled away and probed his ribs beneath the sheets. If she thinks the Fall Maiden is here, Nato granted her a sigh. Yeah, she probably will, assuming I don't talk her out of it. Maybe she won't. You're counting on it? Not a question, an accusation. You don't think she'll listen to you? She's stubborn and believes she holds all the cards. 50-50 on that one, honestly. Roman didn't know enough of her plans, but he could make an educated guess as to her intent. It's a shame, really. She doesn't realize she's got the losing hand. He wrapped an arm around her, and in a rare moment of tenderness, Raven allowed it and moved closer to him. Dark hair brushed his bare chest as they cuddled beneath the sheets. You can take her, right? She's not a maiden yet. Even if she somehow becomes one, you'd still win. You're more experienced. I would. But what about you? No mercy for a poor unfortunate soul. She threw his own barbs back at him. No second chances for little Cinder? None at all? No. There was an edge to his words now, one she recognized. If she attacks, the kids will be in her line of fire. She tries, she dies. She granted him a fiery smile. That's more like it. Her lips danced across his neck, finding their way to his chin, and finally his mouth. Naruto was many things, but at the end of the day, He was still a warrior at heart. Just because he'd excused the old ways didn't mean he'd forgotten it. If it came to a fight, their enemies would be sorely surprised, just as Mercury had been. Cinder had no idea who she was messing with, but she would, in time. A distant clamor downstairs caught their attention. Boss, one of his clones called from downstairs. Might want to come see this? Nope, still sleepy. Naruto stifled a yawn into Raven's shoulder. Can't you handle it? We could, his doppelganger called, but I'm pretty sure you'll want to see this. Crow's awake. Also, we've got company. Finally woke up, did he? Raven laughed into his shoulder. Go on, she gave him a nudge. I'll be here. Come back to bed when you're ready. Blue eyes met red, and he stayed for a long, lingering kiss. Lazy bird. She flipped him off with a laugh. Crow Bronwyn was indeed awake as Naruto stumbled downstairs, and he wasn't the one shouting, You can't take her! For crying out loud, you're too damn nosy. Silence! Came the answering cry. I'll have you both arrested. Naruto stifled a yawn with the back of his hand as he descended the stairs. He saw Dewey first, all but hiding behind the drunken bird's shoulder. Power stood before him, arms displayed wide as she warded off a man Naruto didn't recognize. Adorable. Theory aside, Crow didn't need any protection. Whoever this was, they'd bite off more than they could chew. The reason for her anger wasn't immediately apparent, however. Morning, Pyra, he called into the chaos. What's going on? Jade Orb snapped to him with relief. Dad, do something. He's out of control. And he is. As he drew closer, he beheld the stout-looking man clad in a cream-colored suit, raging at the invincible girl and hungover huntsman alike. All told, the fellow appeared to be in his late 40s. Wasn't much to look at either. All quivering jaws with thin gray red hair framed by dark eyes with garish sideburns tapered up into a bristly handlebar mustache. He looked like he might pop out of the suit at any moment. Meh. A small nasty voice chirped away in the back of his head. Port was bigger, and better shape too, and that was saying something. You there? The whale took one look at Naruto and started pointing fingers. Do your work here? At something like that, the blonde uttered another jaw-popping yawn. We just opened. You need something? I am Franklin Winchester, the man sputtered loudly. A scion of Winchester household. I would have words with you. Too early for this. It was. He dug a finger into one ear, wishing he could just ignore the thought before him. And I should care because... The man stabbed a finger at Deary. Your employee assaulted my son, Cardin. Deary whimpered and tucked herself further behind Crow. No, I didn't. Silence, wench. You'll never work in this city again. Pyra bit back a growl. Naruto waved her down before she could say something to implicate herself. Wait, Winchester? He knew that name. Upon closer inspection, he noted some resemblance to Cardin, fleeting though it might be. He looked like him. Well, he could have if Cardin had completely let himself go, stop exercising, and gain 200 pounds overnight. Blah. Moreover, would he just say, Oh, is that the lie he told? A lie if there ever was one. Coward. Cardin didn't want to admit that he'd been manhandled by Nora. This fawness beat him up. Deary wilted. I really didn't. Indeed. Franklin missed his sarcasm as he looked up at him, heedless of the difference in height. This filthy vagabond broke my boy's arms. That's a lie. She never laid a hand on him. Quiet, you wretched little upstart. Winchester blurted right through Pyra's denial. His gaze snapped back to Naruto. You there, boy. I demand to speak to her manager at once. Pyra froze. Deary perked up. A wicked grin split Naruto's face. Crow swore softly to himself. Ah, bugger. He wants to speak to the manager? A clone chuckled. Did he hear that? Another echoed. He wants to speak to a manager? In that moment, Any pity Naruto might have felt shriveled up and died. Oh, this is going to be one of those days, wasn't it? Fine. He erupted into an ear-piercing shriek of laughter, then a deep, throaty sound that left Winchester on the back foot. 3 quick strides carried him forward. Another placed him well within striking distance. A fifth saw his forehead pressed against Winchester's now puce-colored face. Here at last a faint look of alarm passed through the portly man's sweetly visage. "I am the manager, little man." Behind him Para preened, but he wasn't done. "Your boy's a bigot. He was harassing my employees, so I threw him out. Dearie didn't do a damn thing. Also," he lurched forward, dragging a fistful of the man's coat, "that's my darling daughter you just insulted." Clenched knuckles blurted upwards. Such a homey little place, this bakery. Vanessa Nikos had glimpsed it from afar and knew she had arrived. Nestled in the very heart of Vale, Baker's dozen was immediately visible to the naked eye, easily accessible of a main thoroughfare. She recognized the sign immediately. This might be the place. After all, her daughter's directions had matched with those given by Naruto, and neither were the sort to lie. But with each step she took towards it, her heart began to hammer. Even from here she could hear a lively commotion within. What if they didn't want to see her? No, stop. She shook her head fiercely, crimson hair flying about her head like a halo. Focus. She could do this. She just had to reach out, grasp the handle. She'd only just done so when someone came crashing through the wooden frame and at breakneck speed. Instinct took over, years of poised reflexes compelling her to act. She lashed out, backhanding the brute before he could collide with her and ruin her outfit. A meaty thunk greeted her ears, and then he was gone, crashing past her. Only then did she realize what she'd done. Chagrined, she looked backwards. "I'm sorry," she called out after him. Frankly, Winchester didn't answer. Rather, he lacked the capacity. He was already halfway across the street, tumbling like an oversized boulder and squealing all the while. Vanessa briefly considered assisting him before she thought better of it. Meh, he had aura. He'd be fine. Probably. Besides, that looked like a Winchester, and everyone knew the Winchester family was a big old bag of dicks. No love lost there. Humming, Vanessa hummed softly as she stepped over the broken timber and into the shop. My, she sighed. "I didn't expect this place to be quite so rowdy." Para's voice greeted her almost immediately. "Mother?" Vanessa saw her daughter for all of a moment. Then she saw the man standing behind her. Blue eyes bulged, jade orbs narrowed, the world grounded to a halt. Any lingering reservation she might have felt in that moment burned to ash as she laid eyes on him. He saw her. She saw him. He was just as she remembered. A switch flipped in the back of her head. Naruto saw it, knew what was about to happen, and made no move to flee, nor did he try to stop her. Good boy. Target acquired. "Hey, Nessie!" He raised a hand. "How was your flight?" Vanessa didn't speak. There was no need for words here. Her arms flung themselves around the back of his neck, hauling him forward. Her mouth crashed against his, silencing any hope of protest. Naruto stiffened up for all of a moment before he melted into her, gently cradling her waist, and her heart soared for it. She felt like a young girl again, wild and spirited and free, even as she forced herself to retreat. "Quite nice. Thank you for asking," the warrior purred as she pulled away. "This is a lovely place. Needs a bit of sprucing up, though. Wait!" Power noticed the large case slung over her shoulder and regarded it with something akin to dread. "Did you really bring your weapons?" "Of course I brought them along, dear." Vanessa smiled sweetly and patted her head. "I've got a man stealing hussy to slay, or seduce, whichever comes first, I suppose. Now where is that little birdie?" A distinct crash above her answered immediately. "Is that who I think it is?" Vanessa's smile turned malicious. Second target acquired. Right on time. Previews. Fight, fight, fight. 100 on the red-eyed beauty. What? No way. The redhead's got this in the bag. There. Naruto pulled his hands away, and the green glow of chakra reluctantly abated. All done. It might take a bit for her to wake up. Dirty green eyes fluttered open at once. Or she could wake up now. He palmed his face at the side. Damn it, Saf. You never make things easy, do you? Her gaze shifted, locked onto him like a laser. "Hello, lover," she whispered. "You look like fucking shit." Didn't miss that foul mouth of yours. You don't look much better. Here, drink." Romain choked as the man claimed to be his father pressed a cool glass of water to his mother's mouth. He swore again when she allowed the close contact and drank greedily. Shit, he hadn't been lying. He released the breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "Hey, Mum." His mother shifted amongst the pillows and briefly blinked up at him, blinking away the cobwebs of slumber. She blinked once, twice, thrice, then her eyes widened, recognized him, beheld the blood on his jacket. She did not move. She blurred. Her body all but exploded out of the hospital bed, latched onto his right ear, and yanked his forehead down to hers. "Who are you?" she snarled. "And what have you done with my son?" "Ow, Mom, quit it. You're embarrassing me." "You killed one of my agents." "Did I?" He didn't look up from his meal. "I can't recall. Mercury, ah, yes, the one with the metal legs. I'm not above taking you over my knee." Glinda's confidence died an ugly death. "You wouldn't dare." A blonde brow rose with subtle menace. "Don't test me, young lady." Somewhere in the background, Raven Brown went absolutely howled with laughter. End of chapter 9.